Okay, welcome, Michelle Payne. So, I want to know what excites you most about this conversation we're about to have.
Well, first of all, this is my first podcast, and it's with my big sister, which is so exciting because out of all my siblings, you are the one that pretty much knows the majority of my craziness, my, well, we're going to get into that now about my life, my passion, my love. And we've been talking about this for a while, and we're finally doing it. And it's a little scary, but I'm so glad we get to keep this forever and get into it and share it with the world.
Oh, absolutely. And for those who don't know, yeah, Michelle is my younger sister, so 15 years younger.
Yeah.
And Michelle and I, we share the same dad, but we have different mums. So my mum, born and bred Aussie, Michelle's mum is Japanese. So I grew up with a Japanese stepmother and two beautiful sisters who are half Japanese, half Australian, Michelle being the youngest of the two. And the reason I wanted you on this podcast, particularly, Michie, is of all the family, and we've got a brother as well, but Michelle is someone who takes life headfirst. You go in deep. You seem to care very little about others' expectations of you or society's expectations. And you just do life your way. And you always have, ever since you're a little girl. And I remember back when you were in secondary school and you said to me, and remember, I'm 15 years older, and you said to me, you're thinking about doing some things. And I said to you, Mish, you're going to do what you want anyway. But
Yeah.
whatever you do, just remember that the decisions you make are yours. You own them. You get to own the good, the bad, and the ugly. So
That's right.
whatever you do, just make sure you choose the ones that you want. So where has this come from, this desire to just go after life and not be held back or suspended or choked by what others expect of you? Where's it come from?
So I definitely think it's from definitely my childhood. So just for everyone, we're recording in Tokyo. I've been in Tokyo now for the last 15 years, but also been living around the world within those 15 years. But I was born in Melbourne. Parents got divorced when I was three, and then was moved to Japan with my mum and my sister, and then Hawaii, and then back to Melbourne. I guess since I was little, unfortunately or fortunately, I call it fortunately, with the divorce, I had to pick up and move and adapt into different situations, especially with school. And school, I think, I'm already 37, is the most daunting thing in the world. You have to make new friends, it's a whole new planet, and kids are cruel. And also my identity, I'm half Japanese, half Australian, and I was born in, born in Melbourne, but then I'm suddenly in Japan, and then suddenly I'm in Hawaii where I didn't know anyone. And that's where I felt my personality started to become Michelle, because I was surrounded by a bunch of kids from all around the world. I think I was maybe 8 or 9, which is a pivotal time in our lives, from a kid growing up into a little lady. And I think my surroundings really affected me, good and bad. But I never really cared about what other people thought about me. I was just able to adapt into every situation, such as friendship groups, different schools, different countries. I think that was just instilled in me, maybe through protecting myself. I don't know, in a way. Um, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, can I ask that? That this is really interesting, and like we're having conversations now that even though you've been my sister all your life,
Yeah.
I didn't know. So I've always suffered from the mercy of what other people think of me,
Mm.
right? Quite badly, and I, like you, my mum and our dad split when I was 3, and then we got moved around and did different schools in Melbourne, Sydney, Melbourne. But I was always so hung up on what others thought of me. You said you weren't. How? Why? Because that's a skill I wish I had. I'm like, seriously, that
Because
is.
the crazy thing is,
Top of that.
the grass is always greener, because I wish I had your skills. I wish I did care. I mean, you look, listen, every single person in this world cares about what others think of them. It's instilled in us. It's called human nature. Of course, we all want to be loved and liked, but that's not the reality of things. But I guess, I'm not doing the blame game on anyone, but I had to really grow up quite quickly. And, you know, we'll get into this later, but music has been something that pretty much not just saved my life, but made me find the joy and passion into what I really, really love. And so since I was little, thanks to my mum, I was doing piano and singing and this and that. And I think, having to put yourself out there with music at such a young age, that also kind of defines your personality. You can't be shy. You need to be really outgoing. And I don't know, I think music was another part of my journey of finding who I am and not really caring that much. Like but this is also my personality. You've known me, you used to hold me as a baby, and you always said you were quiet. I was running around, I was always happy. I wanted to talk to everyone, kind of always taking the stage, trying to make people laugh and entertain. But that's something probably we got from Dad, who's the drummer of the Henchmans, and his personality is larger than life, and so is like all of the Paynes are. You know what I mean? But when you say why don't you care I mean, of course I care, but it just wasn't my main issue or goal about what others think of me.
It's never held you back. It's never, and if it
It
has,
has it
you
has in
enjoy it.
relationships, like relationships with men, but for friendships and for business, it's never held me back. That's what's actually pushed me through and actually gotten me to all these crazy places and stories that you know.
Oh, absolutely. And, given the theme of this whole podcast is around courage and, being courageous, tell me, I mean, we could literally be on this call forever, but
Yeah.
tell me about some of the areas or some of the things that you've had to do where you've really had to reach in and find that courage
Mm.
to go and follow what was inside your heart rather than, go to school, go to uni, get a job. That was never going to be
No.
the way you were going to live life. So where have you had to dig in deep and find that courage?
Well, I went to a really, really good private school in Melbourne, and I'm so grateful for that, for Dad to, you know, listen, do I like school? No. However, I was school captain. Don't know how that happened.
Were you?
Yeah, I got school captain. I, got house captain colors, all of that. But I hated school. I'm sorry. But my favorite classes were drama and music. And obviously, that's what I still do now. I'm in the entertainment business.
So
But
not like maths, physics, and chem like me.
absolutely not. I couldn't think of anything worse. But maybe when I was 14, 15, I joined a band with my best friend Andrew, and I started singing in the studio, and I just never felt happier. And I never knew I had a voice. It's not the greatest voice in the world, but I started singing. And these guys were all 5 years older than me. It was like a punk rock band. And I would go to the studio pretty much every day after school. And yes, I did study, Mum, don't worry, but mostly I was in the studio singing and writing original music with them, and I never felt more at home. I was dreaming about it, I was craving about it, and while I was sitting there, doing the maths tests and exams and whatever, I was actually like writing lyrics in my book and thinking about melodies. And back then we didn't have iPhones or anything, so I would just go straight to the studio and start recording what I wanted to record. And so once year 12 was over, thank God. And listen, I didn't do too bad. I got like 73, which is pretty good for someone who didn't really care to study that much. But the first thing our dad wanted me to do was go straight to university.
Mm. Well,
Um,
that's what Sally and our other sister, had done. So
yeah,
yeah, that was
all of you guys did
expectation.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. To me, that was just an absolute no. Like, I didn't want to study again. I didn't know what I wanted to study. And no offense, I didn't want to waste money or time or energy to study. I just wanted to get straight into music. And, our father's friend, rest in peace, he's a pretty famous guy in Japan. And, he used to live near Dad in Sanctuary Cove. And he always said, "Oh, you're half Japanese. You should go to Japan. And if you want to sing," and back then I was quite thin and I was pretty cute. And he's like, "If you want to do some modeling, Japan's kind of the place to be." And so, I know Dad wasn't very happy about that. And so instead of going to uni, I went straight into getting a job so I can save money to go to Japan. So I worked at the bank. I did like 5 different jobs just to save up some money. And I went to Tokyo, and that was 15 years ago, and I've never looked back.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you value most? Because I know that you're the least materialistic human, I think, on the planet.
Yeah,
You own
nothing.
almost next to nothing. I know sometimes we joke in the family that you never lend Michelle clothes that you actually want back.
Yeah, no, that's
You
right.
don't care about stuff like that.
No.
Um, so what do you value? What's really important in your life?
Um, so my friends laugh about that as well, but I've literally lived out of a suitcase for the last 15 years. I'm currently in my first apartment that I live in by myself in Japan. I have a bed, a TV, a couch, some clothes, cutlery, and that's it. It's so minimal. Few paintings, but like that to me, that makes me feel safe. I don't need anything. What makes valuable is like the life experience, memories. The fact that if I have, maybe I won't have a child one day, but like, look what we're doing now. Like, we're doing this podcast, and I get to tell you all these incredible things that I got to do and see. And to me, that's valuable. It's not, look at this diamond that, once you die, this all goes away. I feel like the soul is forever. And in my soul, it's all these beautiful, insane, crazy. Listen, it's not all good. There's some really sad, bad, and mad moments I've had, but I still cherish those as well. But to me, what's valuable is my life experiences.
Oh, I love that. And that is something that I know so many of us crave. And we're probably living in a world that we're here. We didn't actually necessarily choose to be here or end up like this. But you're doing all the stuff that people want. Like, I love, you get offered to go and work in the Maldives and you just pack up and say yes and off you go. Tell me about that. That really stuck out because so many other people, they've got other responsibilities, but they can't just get up and go and follow that fire in their belly that you can.
I love when you say fire in the belly because that's just stuck with me, and it's just so real and so true. But I tend to never say no. I mean, I'm getting older, so I've got to watch out with that. But I tend to never say no. I was in the entertainment industry for a pretty long time. I did the singing, I toured around Japan, I did the modeling, I did a lot of traveling. I lived in LA, New York, Hong Kong. And then when I kind of got a little bit older, my friend asked me to help run one of the biggest nightclubs in Japan. And it was supposed to be just like a little project, which turned into a global, it's a huge, huge franchise. And during the opening of the club, there was this Australian guy, and he was like, I love the way you work. You've got charisma. You're running a crazy nightclub. I have one in the Maldives. Same franchise. Would you be willing to move there and do what you do here, there? And I was like, the Maldives? I'm like, he's like, you've got to, have a think about it. What, 24 hours later, I said yes. So they flew me a week later, and I just was like, wow, I fell in love with the place, and I flew back to Japan, and I was able to, as I said, pack that one suitcase and go. Um, you know, with these contracts with the clubs and the entertainment industry, I've never ever signed anything where it's like, I have to be here for 2 years, or I've never sold my soul. So that's why it's a good and bad thing, but that's why I was able to just always fly and go.
Oh, that you've just said words that are so dear to me, which was I never sold my soul.
Yeah.
I've been out of the corporate world now for, oh gee, since 2009. And the other day there was just this job offer or something, and my husband Tim said to me, oh, would you ever go back to the corporate world? And I said, I learnt so much there and I got so much out of it. But I said, if I went back there, I would literally be selling my soul, and I'm not prepared to do that. So one thing I know that you've said to me over the years is you are very comfortable with uncertainty. Tell me about that, because most other people that, I come across and hang out with and spend time with, they do anything to get out of uncertainty. Where's that come? Why do you feel so comfortable without knowing?
So it's really weird because literally out of everyone in my life, I'm the only one that thinks that way. And I get asked this all the time. And I ask myself because sometimes I'm like, come on, Mish, this is crazy. Like, how can you live this way? But it's the only way I've lived because I don't want to keep bringing it back to my childhood, but most things are related back to your childhood. To me, when I was moving around and going country to country and school to school, and there was so much uncertainty. I didn't know, wow, am I going to stay in this one house forever, this one country forever? As I said, I'm not blaming my father or mother for anything. I wouldn't change anything for the world. This is why I am the way I am today. But I was always living in uncertainty when I was a kid, and maybe that's kind of, I don't know. It's just how I've lived, or how I still live. Like, I'm still uncertain about so many things, but it's my comfortable place. I don't want to know what tomorrow brings, if that makes sense. I mean, of
Oh,
course, like with deadlines and work stuff, oh, hell yes, I want to know that everything's going to be prepared. But life in general, what women at my age would want to know, I don't want to know, if that makes any
why?
sense.
It does make sense. And let's get it out there. You're a 37-year-old woman.
Mm.
So I'm sure other women who have been at that age or are coming up to that age, they know there's certain decisions they need to make if they haven't made them. Why don't you care so much about
Because
what
why
it
should I
brings?
care? Like, I'm so over this society. Oh, you're 37, TikTok, your clock's almost over. Why do I have to rush and feel pressured from society's, I don't know, like, I always live in my planet. This is my world, and I'm not going to let anyone tell me or help me define that but me. Sorry.
I'm laughing.
Sorry.
I'm laughing because that is such a beautiful thing. I live in my world. This is my planet.
But no, it's our planet and it's our world. But this is my life, and well, it is my world. Like, it's my little crazy world that I've, um,
Michelle, we need to bottle this. Like, seriously, if we could bottle some of this attitude, some of this, I don't know, the way you approach life, this is what people are seeking and trying to find this understanding that for you, you know nothing else. You don't know anything
I
different.
don't. I really don't. And you know what's crazy? Coming from a family, a bloodline of people that are so smart, and you guys are all in finance, and like, look what you're doing. You're a life coach. You're so okay, Kimmy. By the way, I look up to you so much. And
Yeah, but I
all
look
our
up to
sisters and
you.
brothers do, but I am the little black sheep of this family, and sometimes it is difficult to talk about Michelle's world and why she's in it and why she hasn't come out of it. And you're the only one that's always, every time I come back to Melbourne, you're like, Michelle, fire in the belly, keep searching, keep going. And once that fire is done, then next chapter. And so, to be perfectly honest with you, the timing of this podcast is pretty crazy because there is, I have been thinking about a new chapter and some changes, but, as they say, when it rains, it pours. It's actually pouring right now in Tokyo, but um, I have recently just gotten some pretty amazing work opportunities. And some of my friends back home are like, don't you just want to come home and be with your family, meet a guy, have some babies? And, I've always wanted the dog and live by the beach. And, but maybe I will have that. But if I put that pressure on me now, I'm not going to enjoy what I have now. It's about enjoying those moments, being present. Because if I keep pushing about the future, which you can't even write the future, you don't know if tomorrow's there. So for today, let's do today. And then we'll think about tomorrow. But that's how I feel right now.
Oh, I love that. But today, let's do today. It
Do
is
today,
so
yeah.
beautiful. And you are the black sheep, and it's quite funny because the family does always say, "Oh, Michelle should just move back to Australia, meet a guy, settle down," and they've even got the guy for you. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and I always say that would absolutely crush her soul. Why would she do that? And by the way, I had a conversation with Dad the other day, and Dad, if you're listening to this, you'll back me up on this. And he said, Michelle just never listens to me. And I said to him, so Dad, last time someone told you what to do, what did you say or what did you do? He said, I'd tell them to nick off and I'd do the opposite. I'm like, well, Michelle's your daughter, so don't you
That's
think
right.
she's doing that too? And he sat back and went, oh my goodness, like be careful what you wish for or be careful what you breed, because he
But
behaves the way that you do, which no
no,
surprise.
I totally get it. And you're a mother and of two beautiful kids, and like that's another thing that of course, I have this overwhelming guilt too because I'm not a mother, so I would never know what it's like to have a daughter like me, running around the world doing the craziest stuff and, the unknown and the whole, concept of the I don't really care what happens, let me just go for it. I'm sure my dad and my mum are very worried. My mum, actually, who's Japanese, is actually quite different. I always share my stories of, hey, this is what I did yesterday and this is what I'm doing. I'm doing these events and this, that. And she just keeps saying, keep going. I want you to come home. But she knows, I think mums know, and she's like, Michelle, I love you. I want you to come home, but I want you to be happy first. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about anyone else. Just be happy. And happiness is one of the hardest things to find. Being sad and being depressed and angry is easy. To complain is easy, but to find true happiness is quite difficult. But at the moment, like, I mean, I don't know the definition of happiness, but I feel like to me, it's keeping true to who you are. Be true to yourself, and trust me, I am not an angel to say it the slightest, but I know I've got a huge heart. I care. Maybe a little too. Oh, you know what? I don't care about what people think of me, but I care too much for people, if that makes sense.
Oh, and what a terrible thing. No, that was tongue in cheek. I think that is so true. And as a mother, and obviously your nephews, my sons are nearly 12 and 14. The one thing that would define happiness for me is that they have truly, truly happy lives.
Yeah.
And I don't care what they do or what it looks like. If they are truly at peace and happy with who they are and the life they're living, that would, as a mother, make me the happiest on the planet. So the fact that your mum just says, keep going, we'd all love you to come home and, to be able to cuddle you and kiss you and have family dues with you. But none of us really want that if that would be at the expense of your happiness. Because,
so, as I said, the timing of this podcast is crazy because, I've done, I'm almost 40. I still feel like my soul, my energy is like 19. I'm not even joking. People around me, when they're with me, like, when does the battery end? Like, stop. How do you recharge? And it's like, I just have this, I don't know where it comes from, but I have this energy where I just want to keep going. I want to meet. See, this is what keeps me going. I want to meet people. I want to hear people's life stories. I want to hear what their passions are and where they went wrong in life and how they got out of it and what they've seen through their eyes and through their perspectives. I mean, talking to the same person, going to the same place, fine. But like for me, there's different fuels and engines for everyone. And for me, what keeps me running and going is meeting all walks of life, whether they're terrible humans, P.S. I've met a few, and just the most beautiful, crazy, some are just really good people, but they're all my teachers in a way. And so to me, that's my happy place, I guess. But I'm still trying to find it, but I guess that's my happy place.
and I like to think that, you don't necessarily find happiness. Happiness is something you choose every single day. And what that looks like obviously changes over time as well. But I completely agree with you around just wanting to know other people's stories. So the whole energy thing too, I get energized when I'm doing things that light me up.
Yep.
Whereas I get very, very drained of energy when I'm doing things that I just have to do or that are not exciting me. And at the moment, I'm in the middle of a massive change of, from a work point of view and everything. And I can tell you so easily what what I should be doing because that's where I get the energy. And same with you. I feel like you've packed your life with the things that energize you and light you up, which is why, being around you is like seriously being around a light bulb that's on full power the whole time. It is so delicious. It
That's
is
so
so infectious. And I know that it's not come easy. I know that, life hasn't been, unicorns and fairy tales. I know that for a fact with you. But one thing you never do is you never stop. You never give up. You never go, whoa, whoa, poor me. Gee, I better go back and settle down because that's what everybody wants. You never, ever, ever do it.
Thank you, and I love you for that. And I swear to God, that's what keeps me going. I have been doing the poor me, whoa, whoa, because recently a lot of things have happened. And you know what? We all go through things, everyone. And I think, especially living in a country where they don't focus on mental health at all, they don't talk about their feelings at all. The reason why the work ethic is 100% in Japan is because there's this thing called gaman. Gaman means patience. No one ever complains about anything here. And so that's kind of toughened me up in a bit. And it's also broken me as well because, as you know, I'm quite emotional. I'm a full-on Capricorn. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm all about just wanting to put myself out there. However, in this country, especially when I was going through some tough times, I should have called you guys. I should have called my friends, but I just left it all in me because I can't, I've been here 15 years now and I'm half Japanese and I've kind of instilled that whole gaman, be patient, don't worry other people with your problems. And that made it a lot worse for me when I think about it now. And the way I reacted to things were irrational because I wasn't speaking how we're doing right now, which is so therapeutic and so important. And for the listeners out there, always, always go to someone with, if it's pain or happiness or whatever it is, you've got to let it out. And I feel that that's what I would love to teach over here, is you don't have to hold everything in. But that's been one of my major battles, I guess.
And that's something I don't understand, Mish, because I don't understand the Japanese culture and the way of doing things. But I do know that, really big emphasis on mental health back here. And part of it is having the space to talk about how you're feeling, to talk about the things that are bothering you or concerning you or scaring you, the things that you fear. And that outlet is so critical. Whereas, you're battling a whole different culture, a whole different set. And I know that you're someone that's very emotional. So tell me more about how you then, being half Australian, being raised in Australia at the very beginning of your life and being more emotional and a very out there, outgoing kind of person, how have you managed to work that in with the culture and get the acceptance in Japan?
So there's been a disadvantage and a major advantage with that. So the disadvantage is, once again, not being able to really talk and emotionally have an outlet. I had to be patient. But also being half Japanese and Australian with my personality, I'm quite strong as well. Most of the people I work with are men. And they said I'm the most masculine woman they've ever met. But as you said, I don't care what they think of me. So I'm still that funny, silly, but when I need to be boss girl, I'm boss mode. And because in Japan, if I was just Japanese 100%, I can't be acting this way. There's no way. You've got to do the bowing. And there's a lot of elements to, you can't say this. You've got to act that way. There's all different ways of speaking. But because I'm half, I don't like the word advantage, but it has made it a little bit more easier for me to get through some pretty difficult times with work or working in the entertainment industry. I always feel like I'm entertaining, even when I'm not getting paid or even when I'm not working. I'm always trying to I want to make people laugh. I want to make people feel good after they've left me. I want people to be like, who the hell was that girl? And so in Japan, that's the character. If you ask who's Michelle Yumiko Payne, that's who they're going to see me as. I've never been the serious, quiet, yes, yes, yes kind of chick. But as I said, I haven't changed. I'm still Michelle Yumiko Payne. with a big Aussie accent. I my Japanese ways have become a little bit more serious these days because I guess I'm working with more Japanese clients, like pretty big, working with some big people at the moment, big franchises. So I do put my little switch on and I become a little bit more Yumiko, which is my Japanese name. But yeah, that's my advantage. But yeah, it's the difficult part for sure is feeling that loneliness and feeling that I can't really reach out and talk about how I'm feeling, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely. And for the record, you do leave a lasting impression with everyone you meet. I don't care where you are or what you're doing, you do leave a lasting impression.
Thank you.
And I love that you are, like I said, the furthest from being a people pleaser on the planet, which is ironic because I would say one of the biggest things I've struggled with over the years is being the people pleaser, trying to do things to get, I mean, going through
Can I ask
school, it was
why?
always get the grades, get approved.
Why? Why? Where does, if you don't mind me asking you, where does that come from?
And it's funny. I reckon it goes back to my childhood. So you were saying it as I am now. So Dad split from Mum when I was 3. They went in separate directions. We still saw Dad every weekend and did all of that. But I was always looking for his approval. And one of the ways I got it was through succeeding, through
Yeah.
achieving,
Yeah.
get good grades at school. I got the recognition. I got his attention. And then, of course, he had Sally and you. So I was then competing, not directly,
Yeah.
none of this was direct. I was always competing to get his attention, and I got it through achievement, through pleasing him, through being the good girl. And this is a story that so many listening to this will relate to as well. So I spent my life, and to the point where going through school, and I loved school and did really well at school. But then after school, like I'd always wanted to start my own business. I didn't start my own business until I was 37 because I was
Nice.
always, yeah, I was always, waiting for the right moment. And I had to get more experience and I had to learn how to run a business more before I could go and do it. And I think a lot of it was I didn't take risks earlier on in life because I didn't want to fall off the mantle of getting it all right and being perfect. So it's really funny, the things that crippled me growing up and that I've kind of been dealing with all my life as an adult woman,
Right.
and not even things that even touch your surface. It's so interesting. So what scares you? What holds you back? What do you really have to work on to move forward that maybe other people don't?
Um, to not be so afraid of failing in a
Are you
sense.
afraid of failing?
Oh yeah. Like even
Really?
though, yeah, I know it doesn't seem like that, but maybe that's why I haven't had, perfect successful relationship. Because I always kind of had I don't know, I've always held back in some way. I haven't, Kimmy, just to be perfectly honest with you, yes, I've thrown myself into everything and I've been a yes girl to Michelle's world, but I've also been, I've blocked myself. Like if I'm always afraid of failure, so I don't go the 100 yards of what I could possibly do because I'd rather just stick to, okay, I've done this, I've done my best, okay, what's next? Instead, because I know in my mind, if I really, really 100,000% put myself into one thing, my hands are in 10 cookie jars at the moment. If I just took all of them out and I had one cookie jar and I didn't want it to break and I put 100% in it and I didn't care if I failed and I just went for it, I know that cookie jar would just be overflowing with cookies, if that makes any sense.
I want to know what the cookie jar is. What's the
So do
cookie
I,
jar?
honey.
You don't know.
Well, listen, my
Come on, this is being honest.
my my whole journey of this career, whatever this career thing that I've been doing, entertainment, whenever I'm the happiest and I'm smiling and my heart's pumping is when I see my friends who wanted to be a singer or who wanted to be an actor or this is all in the creative side of the world and they never had the courage or they were quite scared, but I got to see them at the beginning of their career where some of them would be shaking on the microphone, some of them actually quit halfway, I can't do it, it's too hard. And I've been with them through their process. Now they're the biggest singers in the world. They're on one of the biggest movies, TV shows in the world. I've got to see and walk with them to their success. And part of me wishes I did that with myself. I did sing, I did act, I did model, I did run the clubs, I did sing with Robbie Williams, I traveled and partied with the best of them, but I never took it to the level that they did. And that's
Why?
because I'm scared.
So you're human.
Honey, I am so human. Come on. I am so human.
So what's
Everyone's
holding you
scared
back
to
now?
tell
What's
you.
stopping you?
What's stopping me? Myself. No one else is stopping me. Everyone believes in me. Everyone's the one that encourages me. Like, recently I was telling you that I'm going to be shooting a really big reality franchise, which also another thing. My guilty pleasure is reality TV. That is my guilty pleasure. And I know everything about every housewife, every hip hop star, listen, I would ace it 100%. I know everything. Guilty pleasure, now the world knows. Anyway, um, I got recently a pretty big job to help produce and be part of a huge franchise to shoot in Tokyo. And one of the main directors has been a friend of mine for 15 years, and he said, "You were the first one we thought about." And I said, "Why?" They're like, "We've wanted to work with you since we've known you, Michelle. But you need to put all of yourself in this, and we trust you." And we've been having all these meetings, and I've just been acing it and giving them the full me. I'm not stopping. This time, I'm going to try and do that whole don't be scared of failing, put everything in there. Um, but yeah, it's a hard question to ask, like what's stopping you? Because I do have that personality of just going for it. But yeah, you're right. I'm human. I'm scared of failing, I guess.
Mm. And it's interesting because I don't think I've ever heard you say those words specifically like that, and that what's stopping you is actually yourself. And by the way, Mishi, most other women, even those that are succeeding and nailing it, like you are too, would say that they are stopping themselves. I'd say I'm in my own way and doing everything I can to get out of that way and to do more. And this is going to be an interesting journey. This is going to be, where you go. Do you just go for that one cookie jar and get your fingers out of those nine others
So,
that don't need to do
un-
there? What do you do?
unfortunately, I think my life is forever going to have 10,000 cookie jars because I always seem to have a lot of different things going on at once. That's the whole thing about the whole uncertainty thing as well. Like, if I only had one thing going for me, I know what tomorrow brings, and it's boring for me. Even though I'm stressed out right now and I'm so tired and sometimes way overwhelmed, I'd rather feel that way because I'm just like, holy moly, I'm going into eight different directions, but I've been allowed to be going into these eight different. If I had a child and a husband and I had to worry about a mortgage and taking the dogs out and this and that, I can't be doing what I'm doing now. So I'm taking advantage of that so-called freedom, hence why I'm going full throttle with all these different opportunities. However, once these opportunities start to settle down, which will be in the next 3 to 4 months, I've been really thinking about the next move. And so the next move, I know you said coming back to Australia isn't the answer, or you don't need to do that or whatever, but you know, if someone asked you what's the most important thing in your life, you'll say family. I know that's what you're going to say, family first. Everyone says that. And sometimes I feel guilty because I've been gone for so long and I've put myself first before anyone. Maybe if I'm getting a bit too deep, we don't need to put this in, but like I've, I've felt kind of abandoned at times when I was a child. I felt like I was kind of left alone because there was other things that had to be taken care of, and I was running around, trying to make friends and trying to adjust to different countries and societies and private schools, public schools, and I just kind of went, screw it, I'm just going to take care of me and do me. And maybe that mentality, I got a little bit, I don't want to use the word selfish, but maybe that's why I kind of left Australia. I was only supposed to go for 6 months. And I created my own life, my own world in Tokyo. And it's pretty incredible how I actually think I call Tokyo home before Australia. And I don't want to offend anyone because I have the most incredible family and friends there, like the most incredible. But at the same time, it's pretty incredible that I can call two places my worlds. Like, this is my place where I got to really find who I am, and the place where it gave me opportunity to really do the most craziest things and have so many opportunities. But you've got to be thick skinned for this. And so for that, I thank Tokyo and love Tokyo forever. And for that, it's going to be the hardest decision to leave here. Even though going home to being in a safe place with my family and friends and maybe starting a new life, starting a new business over there, I'm still going to feel that emptiness because I won't be in Tokyo, if that makes sense.
But does it have to be either or? Can't it be both? Can't it be Tokyo, Melbourne, or Australia and?
So that's why with this current opportunity, if I kill it, then there is a huge opportunity where I can work here and in Australia, which is pretty much my dream, because I just don't think I can leave Japan and just close the book on that forever. Especially since COVID, a lot of things have changed, but God, when the world opened, this year, this place has been flooding with opportunity. And I've somehow, been so blessed to be part of that. And, I don't know if it's me I was telling you, before we started the podcast, I'm getting tested, Kimmy. I'm always getting tested. Things are just getting thrown at me left, right, and center, but I never dodge it. I just take it in and I go for it. And so I feel like there's never going to be a right time to leave here. You know what I mean?
What are you getting tested on right now, do you think?
Oh my God. Wow.
What lessons are you meant to be learning right now that you're being tested on?
Self-care.
Ooh.
Self-care.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I guess when you've got your hands in so many cookie jars and, you're just putting yourself out there, you forget about you. I've forgotten about me for a few years, just to put it like candidly out there. Like, I've really forgotten about myself, like loving myself, taking care of myself, feeling the feelings I should, because when I start to feel sad or I feel a certain feeling, I kind of wipe it away with work, or sometimes with some wine, or with, just other things. I don't really sit there and allow myself to feel what I'm supposed to be feeling for myself. Maybe that's another thing that I need to work on, is to stop, what do you call it? I feel like I should give myself a little bit more time and self-care for me. But I'm definitely not doing that at the moment. I think I'm just focusing way too much on these opportunities. So what is is it worth it? Like, what am I, like, so sometimes I'm like, what am I doing, Mish? Like, you can always, it's about juggling and handling yourself, your work, your personal life, your friends. But it's hard. It's really hard.
It is hard, Mish, and I know a lot of people. I've been doing all this research, interviewing professional women at the moment, and the one thing that they all say is they're at the bottom of the priority list.
Yeah.
They're looking after and attending to everyone else, to their work, to their boss, to their colleagues, to their family, their kids, their parents, their friends, everyone else, and they're at the bottom of the list. And by the time they get to them, they're so damn tired.
Yeah.
I know I've got friends that they work hard all week and suddenly they get a Friday night to go out on a date night, and all they want to do is literally sit on the couch, watch Netflix and go to bed early.
Yep.
So it's funny that, you're in a different situation where you are able to, I'm going to say be more selfish, but really put yourself first. But even though you put yourself first, you're still neglecting the self-care and all those other things.
That's the word, neglecting. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that you even recognize that. So all those others that are trying to juggle other people as well and also neglecting self-care, it happens to everyone, whether you're putting yourself first or last.
But that's like another reason, like another chapter, like, we're not going to talk about the boy, but, there is that part of me that, I want love in my life, and I know I can have it. I want security, like, not financial. I'm talking about, like, if something goes wrong and something goes down, or I've had a really bad day, which I know we all have, to be able to go home to someone that really has your back and that can comfort you. I don't have that. I've never had that here. And so that again has built that whole, maybe that tough skinned, maybe I don't know if it's neglecting, but I'm used to not having anyone. So maybe that's something I'm for the next chapter I'm looking for is allowing love into my life.
And love would look different to you than, say, for me or our sister.
Mm.
It would look different. It's somebody that would support and help and encourage you on your dreams,
And that's
not
what I
somebody
want.
that would put your fire in your belly out.
No,
That wouldn't
no,
work.
no.
But it's funny, isn't it? Because, at the start of the conversation, it was very, your life just seems to others like a fairy tale. I want that life. Yet, no matter what life we've got, there are challenges. There are times when you've got to reach in and find that courage. And there are times when, you might look at what someone else is doing and go, hey, that's really cool, but it's not for me, or it's not for me now. And
Exactly.
it's interesting. Like, I've always thought, I love your freedom. I love that you get to express who you are unapologetically. I love that you use your voice, and I don't mean your singing voice, which is deliciously gorgeous. I mean, you speak up for yourself, something I've never done. And it's funny, actually, my mum said to me the other day, because we've got the Payne loud gene, so we've all got very loud natural voices. But she said to me, you're so lucky you've got a loud voice. You're always heard. And I said to her, I might have a loud voice, and when I use it, I get heard, but I don't always use it. And over the
Mm.
years, I've absolutely held back from speaking up, from saying how I feel or what I want or what matters to me. I've struggled
Right.
with that, and I love that you're not like that. So, we've used our voices in very, very different ways. So,
Totally. And that's interesting too, because, I think with me, I mean, it's a blessing and it's also, I mean, I think I use my voice and I don't know any other way. Um, and if I don't express how I feel, then I'm not being my authentic self. I don't fake. I can fake sometimes, like just to like, I don't know, say hello to someone and make someone feel, I don't know, like work stuff, fine. But even that in general, I'm always going to stay true to myself. But at the same time, there is so much I've learned about myself. Hence why I think I've been, single and not being in a full blown relationship or thinking about children or the white picket fence, because there's a lot of stuff. This might be for another podcast, but there's a lot of internal things that I have to um, un will not uncover. We'll uncover, discover, forgive, forget, and move forward. And until I've done that, there's just I don't. There's only everyone has capacities, right? And my capacity right now is already way it's too much. So, but I'm as I said, I'm being immersed into these opportunities, and I want to do. Let's just do today, and then we'll do tomorrow, and let's see where that goes. And then once, as I said, these projects settle down a bit, then I'm going to do my self care, and that's the one thing. As I told you, I don't plan anything, but I plan, and I've already promised myself that once these projects are done, because there is a deadline for each of them, so I'm giving myself about 3 to 4 months. I'm going to take some time off and really, really think about what I want, what makes me happy, and allow a different kind of energy into my life because I've given so much energy out. And as I said, I've neglected myself. And so what I want to do is put that energy that I've given out into me and see where that takes me.
oh, I love that. And again, you said this earlier on. You said, let's just do today, today. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't still have an eye on what you need to in the future, because obviously, as projects come off and wind up, you need to have more things in the pipeline. But I think that is such a beautiful, beautiful message that let's just do today, today.
Yep.
So, Mitch, I mean, I could speak to you forever, and we could seriously
I
go on and
know.
record forever. So, in the saying that, What's your one courageous next step, though, that's really you're facing right now?
My next courageous step is so with all these opportunities that I have. So I've never started my own business, and you said you started your own business at 37. Um, my
You're
courageous
37.
thing is that I have the tools with my family. I like you, dad, all like my whole family listeners are all super intelligent, have all had their own businesses. They probably could give me the most incredible advice for free. And I've never asked, do you know how crazy this is? I've never asked you for advice about financial work, this, that, taxes, nothing. I've never asked dad. I never will. I've never asked anyone in my family because I don't care. I wanted to just go and do me and have fun. But at the moment, things are now starting to go, wow. Michelle, I've got this Moo agency. It's my company that caters to everything. If you need to do events or if you need production work, and I got my job with, I did a thing with Adidas, and so all these little opportunities are becoming big opportunities. And this is the whole thing about I don't want to fail, but my next courageous step is I really want to make this an official company and start really asking those terrifying questions to you and my family about how to go forward with that. Because I think once I start my company, the next step will be, well, can my company be remote? Can I work in Australia? Can I work on the beaches in Thailand? Can I work in Tokyo? That's the next scariest, but if I actually get that right, that means my life of those dreams that I have by being able to work and be with my family at the same time, but be in the Tokyo that I never want to leave, that could be the key to that. So that's my next courageous step.
I love that. And I know you flagged that a while ago. And by the way, how's this? You're 37. I was 37 when I started my business.
I know. That's
And
crazy.
like I said to you earlier, back when you were a little girl and you asked me for some advice on something, and I said to you, you make the decision. You've got it inside you. Follow your gut. Look where it's got you so far, but make sure you own your decisions.
Yeah.
Make sure you own the good, the bad, and the ugly. They're yours. Knowing, though, that you have got all the support around you that you need when you need it.
Yep.
But, Michelle, you've got this. I have total faith in you. So if someone does want to follow your journey, like where can they find you? Where do you hang out?
You mean on social media?
Online. Yeah.
So my Instagram is where I'm mostly active. You can see my whole life on there. Lots of craziness happening in there. It's called Mishymoo86, so MISHYMOO86. And yeah, you guys can find me on there, and a lot of exciting new things happening. So.
And our next podcast episode will be all about Michelle Payne, the founder of Moo Agency.
Yes. Oh my God, I can't wait.
And whatever that looks like.
Yes.
Mish, this is a delight and more beautiful to me because you are my baby sister. This is not just some random, amazing, successful chick that I'm interviewing. You're my beautiful sister.
Thank you.
I love you to bits. And I always have said when I grow up, I want to be more like you.
Oh my God, I love you. You're going to put me in tears now.
No tears. We'll do those when I turn off the recording.
All right, darling. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And here's to Let's Do Today. Love you, Mish.
Love you.
Bye.